Have you ever stopped to think about that piece of paper or metal coin in your wallet? What is it, really? It's not just paper. It's a promise, an idea, and one of the most powerful inventions in human history. Today, we're going on a fascinating journey to uncover the story of money. Before cash, before cards, there was barter. Imagine you're a farmer with a surplus of wheat, but you need a new pair of shoes. You'd have to find a shoemaker who not only has the shoes you want, but also happens to be in desperate need of wheat. This system, known as the double coincidence of wants, was incredibly inefficient. It worked for small, tight-knit communities, but as societies grew, it became a logistical nightmare. How many chickens is a cow worth? What if the chickens lay eggs? It was complicated. To solve this, humanity came up with a brilliant idea: commodity money. This is where certain items valued by everyone became a medium of exchange. In ancient China, it was cowrie shells. In parts of Africa, salt was so valuable that Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in it. This is actually where we get the word salary, from the Latin salarium. Other societies used cocoa beans, cattle, or even giant, immovable stones like the Rye Stones of Yap Island. These commodities had intrinsic value, meaning they were useful in and of themselves. You could eat the salt, use the shells for decoration, or plant the beans. This made trade much smoother. But carrying around sacks of salt or herds of cattle wasn't exactly convenient. The next great leap forward was the invention of metal currency. Around 3,000 years ago, civilizations in Mesopotamia, Egypt, and China started using precious metals like gold, silver, and bronze. Initially, it was just lumps of metal, weighed out for each transaction. It was an improvement, but still clunky. Then, around 600 BC, a kingdom in modern-day Turkey called Lydia had a stroke of genius. They created the first standardized government-issued coins. These were made from a natural alloy of gold and silver called electrum, and each coin was stamped with an emblem, often a lion's head, to guarantee its weight and purity. This was revolutionary. For the first time, you didn't have to weigh the metal. The coin's value was guaranteed by the authority that issued it. The idea spread like wildfire across the Greek and Roman empires, creating a unified economic system that fueled commerce, art, and conquest. Money was no longer just a tool for trade. It was a symbol of power and sovereignty. As trade routes expanded, carrying heavy bags of coins over long distances became risky and impractical. Merchants needed a safer, more portable solution, and once again, China led the way. During the Tang dynasty in the 7th century, merchants began leaving their heavy coins with a trusted agent and carrying a paper receipt instead. These receipts could be traded as if they were the actual coins. By the Song dynasty, around the 11th century, the government took over this system and began issuing the world's first true paper money, called jiaozi. When Marco Polo traveled to China in the 13th century, he was astonished. He wrote about how the Great Khan could create wealth of photos from the bark of mulberry trees. Europeans were skeptical. To them, money had to be made of something intrinsically valuable, like gold or silver. It took another 400 years for the idea of paper money to catch on in Europe, with Sweden issuing the first official banknotes in 1661. For centuries, this paper money was representative. Each note was a promise that you could, at any time, exchange it for a specific amount of gold or silver held in a vault. This was known as the gold standard. It provided stability and confidence in the currency. But it also had its limitations. A country's money supply was tied to its gold reserves, which could restrict economic growth, especially during times of crisis like wars or recessions. This brings us to the modern era of money, and the most abstract form yet, fiat currency. The word fiat comes from Latin, meaning let it be done. Fiat money is currency that a government declares to be legal tender, but it is not backed by a physical commodity. Its value comes from the trust and confidence people have in the government that issues it. In 1971, the United States officially abandoned the gold standard, and the rest of the world soon followed. The dollars in your account aren't backed by gold. They're backed by the full faith and credit of the government. This gives central banks more flexibility to manage the economy, but it also carries risks, like inflation. And the evolution hasn't stopped. In the last few decades, we've witnessed the rise of electronic money. Credit cards, debit cards, and online transfers have made physical cash less and less necessary for many of us. We tap a card, click a button, and value is transferred instantly across the globe. We're moving numbers on a digital ledger. Now, we stand at the precipice of a Rekti revolution, cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and thousands of others are challenging the very definition of money. They are decentralized, meaning they aren't controlled by any single government or bank. Their value is determined by a complex interplay of technology, mathematics, and market speculation. Are they the future of finance, a passing fad, or something in between? Only time will tell. From trading shells on a beach to mining digital coins on a global network, the history of money is the history of human ingenuity. It's a story of trust, power, and our endless search for better ways to connect and cooperate. What we call money has changed dramatically, but its fundamental purpose remains the same: to be a bridge between what we have and what we need. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through time. If you found this as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the world around us. See you in the next one.